Okay, so today we're going to be actually looking at how to write the essay for The Tempest. There are a lot of themes that you could be choosing to do when you're exploring The Tempest. It's up to you which ones you think are interesting, but you have to link each of them with discovery. That's the key point. When you link each theme with discovery, what you're doing is actually making thesis statements. So, for example, with the theme of knowledge, we could say something like, through the process of discovering new knowledge, we're able to make better choices in our lives. So, if you can see what I'm doing there, I'm making it a statement about a point of learning, something that you've understood through exploring The Tempest and other texts, of course, about knowledge and its value as an element of discovery. You've got to make thesis statements linking the theme to discovery. So another one is new knowledge makes us reevaluate our values and beliefs. And another one, knowledge leads to discoveries that both challenge and affirm individuals. You can make quite a few different thesis statements from the same theme. It's your turn to actually do some work now. Using the themes and these thesis starters, try and finish off to make full thesis statements about some of the themes in the play. Pause the video and give yourself a chance to have a go at doing some of those thesis statements now. Welcome back. So you've got some basic thesis statements. But you need to be aware that you should be able to adapt them to different elements of the rubric in the area of study. So the ones that I created earlier, for example, through the process of discovering new knowledge, we are able to make better choices in our lives, really links clearly to the element of self-discovery in the rubric. But not every question that you're going to be given is going to be about self-discovery. So you're going to have to be able to adapt the thesis statements to fit different elements of the rubric. So how can we do that? How do we actually change it so that it makes sense for different elements of the rubric? How do we change new knowledge makes us reevaluate our values and beliefs from a self-discovery thesis statement to something, say, about ramifications or rediscovery? Let's have a think about that. So we could do new knowledge can force us to see events and people in a new light. That becomes ramifications because we're talking about how it forces us to change. The pursuit of knowledge can be detrimental when the search becomes all-consuming. Again, can change that whole statement to look at ramifications. You need to be able to adapt them to fit every element of the rubric. Your turn to do some work again. So looking at some of those thesis statements you created before, how could you change them to talk about ramifications? How would you talk about them to be about rediscovery? Go back and have a look at the rubric. Think back to our creative writing day. They're the elements of discovery that you're going to have to talk about, and you have to be able to be confidently able to rework your thesis statements to match the different elements of the rubric. Have a go now, just trying to write a few of them. Pause and have a go. When it comes time to answering an essay, you need to actually pull together a few of those, what I'm going to call mini thesis statements, into a larger, what I call overarching thesis, say on ramification or self-discovery or rediscovery, so that you've got those little mini ones that are going to fit your why paragraphs, but you have an overarching idea talking about it as a whole. That's the next step in the process. Righto, so if we're having an essay that focuses on the ramifications of discovery, the first thing to do is say choose 3 of your mini thesis statements. So I chose the 3 that you see on the screen now. They're going to be my elements for my why paragraphs. But first I'm going to develop an overarching thesis and put it all together. You create your overarching thesis by looking at your chosen mini theses and looking at what they have in common. What is it that we're meant to learn from that? So that's where you build your overarching thesis. So, for example, all discoveries lead us to change our attitudes and perspectives. They transform us and make us open to new possibilities. While the ramifications are not always positive, they are a necessary byproduct of discovery. So there we have a thesis, an overarching thesis about ramifications, which could go into your introduction. And then the mini thesis statements come out of that for the rest of your essay. Each mini thesis statement becomes a what for each of the why paragraphs in your essay. Now they can be repeated for the Tempest and then reworded for your related text, or you could have separate ones for the different text. You don't have to have your related text mirror and complement everything you want to say about the Tempest. But each one will have to have that mini thesis statement that will then link to your overarching statement introduced in your introduction. Here is an example of a why paragraph that I've written for you. It's about ramification of discovery and focusing on the Tempest and Prospero. Pause the video and just have a read. Notice that I've identified techniques, at least 2 per paragraph you want, at least 2 quotes per paragraph is what you're aiming for, and that I'm explaining it and linking it deliberately with this idea of the pursuit of discovery, but it has ramifications. And then, of course, I've tied it back at the end. So just pause and have a read and see what I've done and see if you could identify all the elements. I'll get you to write some why paragraphs of your own after the video's finished, but you just keep writing at least 3 for the Tempest and at least 1, but ideally 2 why paragraphs for your related text, and then you have your conclusion. So the conclusion is bringing all those separate elements, those mini theses, back to that overarching statement, and then finishing with that idea of the value of it. Why is this important? Why has the study of these texts developed your understanding and appreciation of discovery and all its elements, or in particular the element that you're focusing on in your essay? So there it is. That's what you have to do in a nutshell. The more you practice, the more why paragraphs you write, the more times you manipulate what you're doing to the various elements within the rubric, the better off you're going to be. So get writing, send through to Miss Blasto or myself anything that you write, and you'll be well prepared for the exam on Tuesday. Good luck.